Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Tim Kintz on the line, and he is president of Kintz Group. Tim, welcome to the show.
Man, it's great to be here. It's my pleasure, and it's an honor to be with you.
All right, Tim. So for all my fans that have been watching this show for a long time, hey, I love supporting and promoting authors, and we have two treats today for you. So we'll be talking about Tim's first release, which was called Frictionless. Look at that. Got a nice, man, your branding, everything else. They're beautiful, everything you put into this work. And then the second book that we'll be covering as well is we're going to get into Fearless. So excited to get into that and to learn more about Kintz Group and all that you're doing to help your clients. But before we get started with that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So Tim, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Tim, what mission matters to you?
Giving managers, especially middle managers, the real world tools that help them succeed every single day when they come into work. I think middle management is the least trained people in many, many industries. Yeah. They were salespeople. They were, the boots on the ground people, and they get promoted through survivor, outwit, outlast, outplay, don't get voted off the island, and eventually you're going to get promoted. And then they don't get training when they become managers. They're taught technical stuff, how to order things, how to manage stuff, but not people. And, if we ever really want to make a difference in our companies, we got to stop managing our companies and start managing the individuals within our companies. And I always say, we don't need more sales managers in today's world. We need more people managers. And my whole philosophy is to give them not a bunch of platitudes, not 21 little checklists, to give them real world tips, strategies, and skills so they can execute their day-to-day. It's one thing to have a dozen characteristics to be a great leader, but how do I apply those when I show up in the morning and I got 48 emails to answer? I got a boss screaming at me. I'm working 3 deals. I got service managers hollering at me about getting cars through service department, and I have to order a bunch of cars. And, oh, by the way, I'm supposed to train and lead my people. How do I do that with a little checklist of characteristics? So, man, I'm empathetic. I started from the ground up, and I know how hard it can be. And I believe Zig Ziglar's whole philosophy of you can get everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want out of life. And I just try to give them tools, man. That's it. I'm empathetic, not sympathetic.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I do want to stay in that start for a minute, though, and that idea of empathy. So how did all this start for you, the entrepreneurship and the sales thing? Because when I look at your brand now, I look at all the things you've done, and you're the go-to guy when it comes to sales training, management. You're that guy. And that's without a doubt. But where'd all this start from you?
By accident. Pretty much. As a kid growing up, I was going to be a big league baseball player. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just what I was going to be. And, just like 99.99% of all the kids that say they're going to be a big league baseball player, they end up doing something else. And, I played in college in Arizona for 3 years and went to California and played in Cal Baptist University for a year, went to Alaska and realized, this dream, it's done. I'm not making it. What's next? And they got me a job when I was playing baseball, washing cars at the Honda Acura store. And you play baseball at night and get a host family. And I was washing cars for guys making $150,000 a year, while my buddy was starting third baseman for the Boston Red Sox making $62,500 a year. And I thought, I'm going to try selling cars. And 31 years later, I'm still in the car business. And it's kind of hard to get out if you're any good. Once you start making money, it's a great business. But I always say the car business is like Denny's. You never make reservations. You just kind of end up there at 2 a.m. It's kind of like that in the car business. Unless you have a PhD, Papa has a dealership. Your name's on the sign.
Yeah. So what was that? So you entered the car business. What was that point? And I don't know if there was a single point or if it was a, led up to a transition or who knows, maybe it was another accident. But at what point did you decide to really start focusing on others? Because I always find it interesting when somebody is, really good at what they do, they're getting success, and then they figure out a way to, they've been blessed and to be a blessing and to help others in terms of whether it's training or otherwise. Like, when did that moment happen for you?
I don't think I had a moment. I had a series of moments. I had, as a kid growing up, everything was all about sports. So I had a few coaches I look back on that kind of started laying that foundation. Coach Todd, who understood how to manage me when nobody else did. And, whether it was kicking me in the butt or patting me on the back, he knew how to motivate me or keep me in line or whatever needed to be done at the time. And then when I went out to Arizona and played, I had Coach Cack, who 30 plus years later, he just sent me a text before we started this interview about making sure I'm keeping my nose clean. And he's helping me get some tickets to the UTOU game. And we're still in touch. And he's, he was that leader. He was that guy that knew how to build that emotional bank account with all of his players. And then I got in the car business and I had Dan Schumacher, who, he was a leader. He cared more about us getting better than we cared about us getting better. And he spent the time with us and helped us get better. And then when I got the opportunity to go to work for a training company, I thought, you know what? Number one, I hated speaking in front of people. I mean, it's like most people, right? That's the number one fear in life, public speaking. They'd rather be the dead guy in the casket than the one standing up telling stories about the dead guy. But I thought, that do what you fear, you'll conquer fear. It looks cool. I would love to be able to speak to lots of people and make a difference. And I took that job, and that was out of my comfort zone. And 13 years into that, I decided that I needed to go back into car dealerships. So I went and ran a dealership and realized what I had learned 13, 20 plus years ago really didn't apply to today's business because of the evolution with technology and stuff. And in my mind, I never wanted to have a training company. When I left my old training company to run a dealership, I said, I'm never getting in the training industry. That's the last thing I'm going to do. It's too much work. It's a pain in the ass. And when I got back in the dealership, I realized how much need there was for relevant training, not just a bunch of old IBM cookie cutter 30-year-old stuff that's being taught to people, but real relevant stuff that tied technology and today's expectations customers have. And that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at now. So it wasn't one event. It was just a series of events that turned into, this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah. And so, you have a unique vantage point. First off, you've been in the industry for a long time. You're working with middle management. You're working with, obviously through that and through these different dealerships, you're working with people that are brand new, green to the industry, just starting out. I'm interested in your opinion. You've been in the business a long time, around a lot of different setups. What kind of advice would you give, or what would your thoughts be on like new people or young people or just people that are considering entering the car industry as a career or and maybe thinking about like what kind of things would you tell them?
Same thing my coach told me when I was 18 years old, our first day of practice. He had the whole team out there and he said, look, you guys are all good. Every one of you guys wouldn't be on this team if you weren't good. He said, but I want you to know this, that we're not going to focus on your successes. I'm not going to worry about successes. What's going to determine our success is how every one of you guys bounce back from adversity. Anybody can handle success. It's easy to spike the ball when you get a touchdown. How do you bounce back from failure? And that's what we're going to learn to do. And that's what's going to make you great. And I think in any sales, it's how do you bounce back from failure? Because selling is a series of failure. You're going to fail more than you succeed. And attitude matters and working on your selling skills matters. But how do you, like Zig said, how do you take that check up from the neck up and make sure you're ready to sell? Because that customer you're getting ready to talk to, they don't care that you just had a bad experience with somebody else. They're focused on them. So the number one thing is being able to persevere, being able to have that internal motivation to keep pushing you forward when things don't seem like they're happening, because you don't know where the miracle is going to happen. There is no line in the sand saying this is where the miracle. So you have to be competitive.
All right, let's switch it up a bit. So I do want to get into the first release here. So Frictionless: Closing and Negotiating with Purpose. What was the inspiration behind this book?
Again, I think negotiating is a lost art. Internet, Amazon, one price. Yeah, it's people I think have forgot how to negotiate, or they're afraid to negotiate. I think there's a lot of people scared to death to negotiate.
Yeah.
And they think, well, I don't want them to think I'm pushy. I don't want them to think I'm trying to sell them. Well, I hate to break it to somebody in sales, but trying to sell. And if you're afraid to try to sell somebody or close them, then you need to get out of sales. Get a dog if you're afraid. Call 911, because selling is all about closing. It's a zero-sum game. You close or you take the C off, you lose. It's that simple. You're a closer or take the C off. And the whole idea was giving them step by step, letting them understand what the golden rules are to negotiating and closing, and realizing that closing isn't a step, it's a process, right? It's everything you do throughout the whole sale. And yeah, this book's on selling cars, but you can change the words, and selling is selling. It's the people business, not the car business. So that was my first book, because I believe it's a lost art, and it needed to address it. Unfortunately, my timing was off, because it had to do with face-to-face selling. And about a month after my book launched, the pandemic hit. So face-to-face selling wasn't quite the same thing at that moment.
And so looking at the content though, and I like that you said it's a lost art, or it's an art, like correct me if I'm wrong, like this is something that people can learn. So it's a learnable skill. Like you don't have to be born a closer, or am I off on this?
No, I think most kids are born closers. They just become passive. If you got kids, they'll close you, and they'll keep closing, and they're persistent, and 80% of sales will close after the 5th attempt. And my kids will ask 20 times until they get their way. and they'll ask lots of questions. But yeah, I think it can be learned. I think some people will be better than others, but I don't buy into the whole fact that, oh, you're a natural born salesperson or you're a natural born leader. No, somewhere in your life, something or someone influenced you to have those characteristics. So yes, I think most people can learn. Now there's some people that need to just count numbers and keep books, that they're not people. And if you don't like people, don't get in sales. Yeah. Drive it out of my truck or something.
I get it. So, and then the second release. So again, the first one was on face-to-face sales. Well, I'm recording this, by the way, and for people that are watching this in February of 2022. So we're getting back to the face-to-face sales side of things, but let's talk about the latest release. So Fearless, Leading and Managing Unbreakable Teams. So after the first one, you're looking at online, and you're looking at what virtual and otherwise, and different ways to bring content to people. So tell us about Fearless.
So the pandemic hit, and my first thought was managers need help. Yeah. Managers, we don't have people at the dealerships. We're running business. In a lot of cases, the managers were the only ones at the dealerships, running dealerships, selling cars, doing everything. And my whole mind went to, look, we're going to get back to selling. Business, we'll get back to where we were. It may look different, but are we going to be prepared to be there? You know, I always remind myself and everybody else of the Wayne Gretzky quote that good players skate to where the puck is, and great players skate to where the puck's going to be. And I think great leaders are always looking, where's that puck going to be? What do we need to do now to prepare ourselves so we're not blindsided like we were in the car business with digital retailing? Car dealerships, they got their ass kicked by Carvanas and Vrooms and CarMaxes and all them, because it was just a little part of the business selling digitally. And all of a sudden overnight, it was the only part of their business, because they were living in the moment, right? I always say we got to feed the beast, but we also got to fuel the future. So yeah, I got to feed the beast and pay the bills now, but what are we doing to fuel the future? And that's what I wanted to put together for Fearless. How can these guys go day to day as leaders, managers, trainers, and coaches, and grow their people, right? You don't grow your company, you grow the people within your company, is the whole principle behind it.
What were some of the things that you've seen and also helped, companies with, that helped them be successful during those times? What are some of the things that made certain people very successful and maybe others fell short of maybe their goals?
I think that it's not my job. That whole mindset went away. Well, that's not my job. I don't do that. Oh, hell, we did everything.
It was everybody's job.
Yeah. Well, in the past, call a car dealership and tell them you wanted to give you a price over the phone. They'd say, no, you have to come in. to get a price. Well, that changed, and we had to adapt and adjust. And I think what really the successful dealers did was they adapted quick. They embraced change, didn't fight it. They weren't afraid of failing. They would take the chances, the risks, and above all, they followed through with everything they were saying. Right? They would promise. Everybody can promise you, oh, we were doing touchless deliveries and delivered the car. It was the same damn process, and you got the same experience that everybody did. I think what's really the difference is what managers and leaders are still doing a good job of managing and leading their people. Because right now, the car business, like a lot of them, they're making money right now easily because there's no inventory. Yeah. So they're making a lot of money on cars, and it's the most profitable dealerships have ever been. So the internet, we had to get really good at the internet really fast. Otherwise, you were going to starve. Now we don't have enough cars to handle all the demand. So now our internet process has gone off the deep end because, again, we don't have to take care of the customers because there aren't enough cars to sell everybody. So what is happening to your company in general? Are you, even though business is good, are you doing the things that you need to do to long-term relationships and an exceptional experience with the customer?
And so the subtitle is managing unbreakable teams. Like, I mean, that's a big statement. What are some of the things that you wrote about that make that possible?
So moving forward, I think we're going to learn to do more with less, meaning less people, not having, it was kind of the joke in the car business, but you hire them in masses, train them in classes, and fire their asses. And there was always a new person to bring up behind them and flood the floors with people. Well, I don't think we're going to have that staffing levels. And I think we need to learn how to we need to have better people that produce more, right? Less people, better people, that their production is higher than it was. And I think it comes down to really caring about your people. I always say that you need to care about your people getting better more than they care about them getting better. And do they know that? Or are you so busy being busy? A lot of managers are really busy managing stuff, but not the people part of it. Yeah. And I think it really, I go back to the emotional bank account. Are you building that emotional bank account with your people? Are you making deposits and posits? Are you catching them doing good things? Are you having fun competitions? Are you bringing fun and competition into your company? I don't care what the company is. I'm a competition freak. I love it. I think if people are competing, then they're succeeding and not even knowing that they're succeeding.
What do you think some of the managers did during this time? You spoke at the dealership level about what made some people successful. From the management side of things, like what do you think are some of the things that make them successful during this time?
Same thing. I think that doing something to get better every day. Right? I think it's salespeople, managers, dealers, any of us. I think right now we're in a culture of complacency unlike I've ever seen before. Yeah. I think maybe I'm just getting old and I'm a get off my lawn kids guy or something, but I think both of them could be true. But yeah. I think if you want to kick ass, if you want to dominate, I don't care what the industry is. I don't care what you're doing. If you want to dominate, I think you have less competition now than you've ever had. And if you want to be great, the opportunity is there. Now, are you going to do what it takes to tap into it? Are you going to educate yourself? Are you going to take the risk, the challenges that need to be done? Are you going to surround yourself with all the right people? Or do you feel obligated to be the smartest guy that walks in a room? I don't want to be the smartest guy that walks in the room. I want to learn from everybody else that's in there. Dad said when I was a kid, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's kind of that. Who you surround yourself and who you hang with is what you're going to become. And I think the really good managers and leaders, a lot of Facebook groups and there was a lot more collaboration and Zoom meetings and stuff that happened that didn't happen pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it seems to me like, I noticed that as well. It seems to me like there was at times more opportunity for connectivity, even though you weren't necessarily in the same office or in the same, surrounding as normal, which is kind of contradictory to me for a second. Like I'm thinking about it and I'm like, wait a minute, like certain people you talk to, certain connectivity, certain conversations that would have been had, like you would have never maybe made time for. So I feel like there's always opportunity, but there was a unique opportunity this go round.
It was everywhere. If you wanted to find it. right? If you wanted to educate yourself, there was people out there that they were going to educate you. They were going to share ideas, and they were their clubhouse. I mean, there was a million different places to go, almost to the point that it became irrelevant because there were so many different meetings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You had to pick your poison. Where were the good ones?
For sure. Let's talk about Kintz Group. So tell us a little bit more about the company.
So started about 8 years ago, I guess it was, after, like I said earlier, after leaving the car dealership or leaving the training company, where we pretty much just held seminars. I'd fly around the country, the world, everywhere, and hold 2 or 3 day seminars, and then hop on a plane and fly to another place. And after 13 years of doing it, I realized how much change was happening in the car business. Plus, it was kind of a Groundhog Day situation. So I decided to go help one of my buddies run his Ford store. And when I got in that dealership, I realized, man, there's been the speed of change is unlike it had ever been. Not that things were trickling in. I mean, we went in the car business 50 years and it hadn't changed at all. And now with everything being mobile, everything that had to do with mobile, man, you'd be obsolete really quick. And it took me 1 year to realize that I needed to update everything, not just the sales side of it, but the leadership side. The people were different. How do I manage them? How do I motivate these guys to want to keep getting better? And that's why I decided to start the Kintz Group. And the biggest commitment I made to myself was to make sure that I was going to stay in dealerships, meaning go in stores and not just hold concerts, 4 times a month. But I wanted to be in there to know what are they using? What's the new computer programs? What's the new apps? What's trending in the business so I could stay relevant and help the guys use technology to sell, not thinking technology is going to sell, if that makes sense. We just had our NADA, the convention for the car business. And you walk around and there's thousands of booths. I don't even know how many thousands of booths. And probably 99% of them are all technology driven. Apps for doing this, for doing that. There's very little people part in there. That's what's missing. Okay, you can get all the apps you want, all the programs you want. Yeah, you got all the data. But what are you doing? The people give the experience to the customer, not the programs. And that's my number one commitment, to stay relevant and make sure I can help them take their investment in technology and teach them the people part of that. Does that make sense?
It does. And tell me a little bit more about how the training aspect works, like the training aspect of things. Like, how does that work?
Well, I do all of it. So I have seminars, just like I talked about before. I'll still hold open seminars. I try to have fun with them. We do them at Topgolf. So we get to, hit golf balls at lunchtime and hang out afterwards for a few hours and have some golf contests and see if they can outdrive me and give away shirts and stuff like that and free workshops. But then we also go in dealerships. So we'll go, some groups will go and do training for all their groups and help them develop new processes. We do coaching in dealerships too, where we'll be shoulder to shoulder with them on the floor, helping them out on their daily walk. And then we have online training platform also. So we've got 1,000 chapters online that they can watch videos to help them in between visits. Because look at YouTube. There's 1 billion videos watched. People watch videos. My kids, I can't get them off of watching videos every day. So that's how this generation's learning, and you have to be relevant with that too. So we have the whole spectrum: open seminars, in dealership or in business consulting, and then the online platform, along with, like I said, books and games and contests and all the other fun stuff.
So overall, you're in the dealerships, you're obviously up on technology, you're staying relevant by you're doing seminars. A lot going on in the space in general. Like, what excites you right now about the industry overall? Like, what gets you fired up every day to get up there and go out and make a difference?
There's a lot of things. I think as far as industry, there's so many great things coming, whether it's electric cars or hybrid cars or whatever the evolution of cars are going to be, they're still going to be here. So that's the beauty of our industry, is going to be here. There's going to be changes. There's going to be, is it going to be the big traditional dealerships? Is it going to be smaller? Who knows what it's going to actually be? But the industry is not going away. So that's exciting to me. I love all the new cars coming. I got my new Hummer coming, so I'm pretty excited to get that. Never had an electric car, so that'll be my first one, even after 30 plus years in the business. But what really gets me excited is when I talk to salespeople and I talk to managers, and I talked to a guy, Darren, and he tells me that every one of his managers last year made 6 figures more than they ever had in the business after a year plus of implementing everything we do. Or I talk to salespeople that they go from selling 8 cars a month and paying their bills to selling 22 cars a month and being able to take a couple vacations with their family and be able to have time off to coach their daughter's soccer team. Those are the things that keep you coming back. It's like birdie in the 18th hole as a golfer. That's what keeps you coming back for the next round. As long as you do it for the right reasons and doing it about the people, and don't chase the money. You're never going to catch it. It's love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life. But I don't believe that work smart, not hard. You need to work smart and hard, right? They both go hand in hand. A lot of people say, I want to do what you do. I want to be a trainer. Well, you have to do what I did.
Yeah.
Time it, right? It's one thing to want the end result, another thing to actually be able to execute on the end result. So it's when I get out of bed, when it's got to do with work, it's all about the guys that I'm training. I remember Zig Ziglar told me one time when my wife used to work for him, and I asked, this was early on in my training career, and I just asked for advice. And he said, the best advice I'll give you is you need to prepare every night like it's the first workshop you've ever held, because to the people that are in there, it's the first one they've probably ever attended. And they're going to give you 8 hours of their life. Don't waste it. And that just kind of stuck with me. And I think, isn't it really that way with our customers? They're going to come to our dealership. They're going to come to our business. They drove 30 minutes to get to our business. Are we going to waste 30 minutes of their life when they're inside our business? Or are we going to make it an exceptional experience that's going to compel them to come back? And that's what we all have to remember, man. We're all going out to restaurants right now. How many times have you walked out of that restaurant in the last 6 months saying, man, that service sucks. I'm never going back there. And then you walk out of some, and you know what? The food was okay, but the service was awesome, man. I can't wait to go back there. The service and experience is what's going to drive long-term business.
Man, Tim, you got me all fired up over here. I'm excited. I can see why people get fired up about your content, about the events and everything else that you put on. I just have to ask, I know you're a busy guy flying all around the country doing what you do. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the Kintz Group?
Man, we are busy as a one-arm wallpaper hanger. Literally, I'm heading to Buffalo next week, Cleveland the next week, Austin, Texas, Holland, Michigan. I was supposed to go to Russia because, I was the Fearless was the bestseller. It was the book of the month in Siberia. Who knew, right? I didn't even know they read. But I think that's on hold for a little while. I'm going over there right now, even though they still won't come there. But what's next is to keep creating content that helps our customers have a better quality of life. That's the bottom line. It's doing podcasts like this and getting the message out. And, the teacher will arrive when the student's prepared. And as long as you keep putting it out there, you can't control if they're going to do anything about it. But, if one person hears what you have to say and you make a difference in their life, then it was a success. If you worry about the 99 people that didn't pick up anything, and that one person you were never going to make a difference with. So I'm in the process of writing my new book, Limitless. And that'll be, we'll see with the supply chain. It'll be the end of potentially first of next year is probably when it'll come out. The whole drill on printing books right now and stuff. And we got a lot to work on getting through our convention. We had lots of leads, lots of great customers we met in Vegas. And it was a good time. Now it's time to start closing some deals.
It's awesome. And so if people are watching this and they want to follow up and learn more, what's the best way for brands to connect with your content and with your company?
Yeah, you can go to kintzgroup.com, KINTZ group.com. We have contact pages on there, so you can fill those contact pages out. We got lots of items in the shop, coaches playbooks, planners, lots of leadership stuff in there. And I'm all over social media, just like most people: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm not much on Twitter, but we're out there. And just reach out. I'm Tim at KintzGroup.com, and cell phone numbers on there. I'm pretty wide open, man. So if people want to talk, I'm here, and we can help anybody out.
It's awesome. And and for everybody watching this, we'll put all that information in the show notes so that you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time engaging or watching anything on Mission Matters in our platform, we're all about bringing on entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share their mission, why they do what they do, like what excites them about their industry. If that's the type of content that you're into, and if that excites you, then we definitely welcome you to hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Tim, really, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks again for coming on.
Adam, you're awesome. Thank you. Can't wait to do it again.